Good evening, everyone, and welcome once again to the Sticky Wicket Cricket Podcast. This is the weekly cricket show about the wonderful world of international cricket by four fans of the game, produced for fans of the game. I'm Joe. As ever, I'm joined this week by Marty.
Hi, Joe.
And Cheese, good evening.
Evening, Joe.
And Ed.
Evening.
And on the show this week, there is little or no international cricket to be bringing you. So we are going to be talking about the IPL, which kicked off earlier today, and the first game has just finished an hour or so ago. So we're going to be talking through a whole preview of the IPL, and then we're just going to move on to another preview because the County Championship in England kicks off on Friday. So we're going to be discussing the favourites, the players to watch, etc. in that competition. So on the IPL then, what we're going to do is we've actually picked two teams each that we're going to follow. So we are going to go around the room and each of us preview both of our sides to try and hopefully give a reasonable sort of preview of the players involved. And it's probably worth mentioning that we're not the most sort of up-to-date on IPL history. So this is IPL 10 now. This is probably the first time each four of us are going to pay a huge amount of attention. I think that's probably accurate.
I did watch a ball of it today.
Yeah,
IPL for dummies.
Yeah. So if anyone out there has not really followed the IPL before but fancies getting into it, then this is the place for you, I think. So we're going to be paying a lot more attention and trying to get into it this time around. So please listen in. So to start things off, I think Marty, you're going to talk about your first side.
Yes, I am, Joe. It's I've been lucky enough to get the defending champions, which is the Sunrisers Hyderabad, who, as well, I'm guessing a lot of us would know, kicked off today with a fantastic win.
Yeah.
Over RCB. I think they performed pretty well today. They made about 200, or just over 200 for their innings, and then I think they were battling at one stage. I know with about 10 overs gone, they were struggling. I think the RCB was at 2 for 110 or something like that. But they had a really strong second half of that innings there to take home the win. Some good performances as well, I think we would have seen. Obviously, Yuvraj Singh, the evergreen, I think we could say that. I'm not sure how old he is at the moment. But
he is amazing.
Yeah, he is. I mean, I heard someone was saying earlier, he might have been mid-30s, but I mean, it feels like he's been around for a
cancer recoverer. He's had cancer.
Has he?
Yeah. He was out of game for 2 years because he had cancer.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Well, congratulations.
He only came back
well done. Yeah, it truly is. It's really impressive to come back to this kind of level after suffering something like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's great. Him in the middle order. Obviously, you've got the captain Warner, just coming off the big Test series. one of the Australian captains at the moment. I think about half the teams have got Australian captains.
It's amazing, yeah.
It is, yeah. I mean, with Watson filling in today.
Oh, that's true. Actually,
he was, yeah.
And Warner and Smith and Maxwell.
Yeah.
So, was there a review from Watson, or did
we'll come on to that.
I'm not sure. I haven't actually watched the replay. I was at work, you see. You've got to, but only following it on the Crick Info. But yes, I think Warner struggled a bit, and Darwin played all right. Enriquez as well, a bit of an Australian all-rounder. Coming in there, made it quite 50.
Is he just a 2020 player? Or?
No, he's played a fair bit for Australia in one days and so forth. Right. He might have actually played a couple of tests a couple of years ago during that period where Australia was
rubbish.
I wouldn't say rubbish. Though. I think that'd be quite rude. No, but we're swapping between players at a fairly hefty pace.
Transition phase.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So yeah, but look, I think that this team here. I'm surprised they actually won last year when you look through the actual list. I mean, I think their bowling lineup. I wouldn't say is the strongest out of any of the teams here. I mean, you've got a few all-rounders there. I mean, you've got Kumar, who's obviously a good Indian
he's awesome.
seam bowler. You've got Neera.
He took most wickets last season, I think.
Oh, did he? Right, yeah. So, I mean, he's obviously excellent.
Which Kumar, though? Because there's a few.
Bhuvnesh, is it?
Yeah, that's... Right. Yeah, well, I won't embarrass myself
he was
pronouncing the name.
I've got a Kumar too, but I thought it was going to be the best, but...
He bowled really well against England in those T20s that we had against them recently for India. And he took the most wickets in IPL 9 last year.
Fine,
he's a really good player.
Yeah, okay. So they've got him, but also we've got a young Afghani spinner, a young 18-year-old, Rashid Khan, and I would encourage everyone to have a quick look on his photo online, because I tell you what, he's 18 going on 39. But look, he performed really well today. He got 2 wickets. I think he only went for about 36 runs as well, so he looks like a bit of a star in the making, I think. So look, it was a good performance. It's always good to get off with a win, especially after last year, and I think a lot of people have perhaps written off this team this year. There's a few outside the squad as well. I think Shaw Cheese will be interested to note as well. I think we've got young Kane Williamson as well.
Didn't pick him.
What's that?
He didn't get.
Well, I'm actually reading this. He doesn't get picked a lot for these games, which is quite surprising. So he's a bit of a bench warmer, and you've got one of the best batsmen in the world.
I'm shocked.
I know. I can feel the offence just emanating from you at the moment. But no.
When I was deciding who should get which team, I was like, well, you need to have McCullum's team. Williamson, well, it might be a bit of a waste.
You said it was a free and open draw.
I know, I didn't say that actually. If you read the message,
the listeners don't know that Joe has rigged this whole competition.
It's Russian hackers.
Someone got into my system and accidentally gave you a team that you might have an interest in based on what nationality the players are. So so I was going to give you Williamson, but then of course he doesn't really play, so I thought someone like McCullum is a bit more.
It's fine. Yeah. But so who were the 4 overseas players for? Who are we talking about? Hyderabad.
So he had Warner.
No, we've got Warner as captain. We've got Enriquez as well. You've got Ben Cutting.
How the hell did Enriquez make it before Williamson?
That's true. He's not around.
I think because he bowled.
Williamson
bowled
dabs
one over.
it down into the ground for one into the gully. That's not really what you want to launch IPL 10.
Partnerships?
Yes.
There's no games against South Africa still going on, is there?
No, it's all over.
So he could be there. That's really odd that he's.
So I'd like to find out where De Villiers is as well.
Because also,
I think he's injured, isn't he? But we'll get to that. Yeah.
But also, Williams quite handy off breaks, I'd imagine, in India as well.
Absolutely,
I would think. But anyway.
Well, you never know, do you? But anyway, so also Chris Jordan as well. So he's
really?
He's in the team. I think he might have come out onto the field for a little while today. But,
really? He could be really
starting
useful.
lineup. Yeah,
his death bowling is brilliant,
and he's a great fielder. So if you got him as a replacement fielder, that's
true.
Well,
60,000 is a snip.
Absolutely, yeah. And also, I think it's Mustafa's, I can't pronounce his first name, Rahman, as well.
Mustafa.
That's the one, yep. Thank you very much there, Cheese.
Where did that come from?
Starting the IPL, right?
He's been drinking
I think he was injured today, so he's obviously a strong player as well to come back into the team. So, look, I don't know how they'll go this year. Hopefully they'll do well for me.
So you obviously hosted the first game today, and you get the final, I believe, as winners. You get to host the final, so that's in Hyderabad at the end of the season, at the end of the competition as well.
Well, it'll be something to look forward to, a bit of home advantage if they make it.
So exactly, so they might be in pole position. On that note, actually, just on a completely separate point to the whole thing, the playoffs, the way they do the playoffs in the IPL, I'm a massive fan of. Has anyone actually seen how it works? It's very simple.
Oh, I might not be Joe. Right, because the Gujarat Lions came, they won all the round robin games.
Well, so
lost, and then last year finished.
So it's very simple, but in like other competitions where you have just a top 4 in the playoffs, you just have 2 semis and then a final. Yeah. 1 plays 4, 2 plays 3. Yeah. So in the IPL they do so basically first plays second and 3 plays 4 in the first round of playoffs games, right?
Yeah.
So if you win the first against second game, you go straight to the final.
Yep.
If you lose that game, you play the winner of 3rd against 4.
Yeah.
So it kind of suits that.
That's awesome.
I think it's. I mean, it's an extra game, but I think it's harder for those 3 or 4 teams to come in and win. But they get straight to it, like an eliminator match, I think they call it. And then obviously the winners of that second sort of playoff eliminator match gets into the final against the side that won the 1 against 2 game. It's just a really
it's a great idea.
Really simple, but actually I think a really good way of doing a 4-team playoff. That's all. I just wanted to make the point. Really.
No. The NRL in Australia currently do that, where you.
Really?
It's a top 8, but the top 4, you're 1 plays 2, 3 plays 4.
And the winner goes straight in.
Winner goes straight in,
and then they get a week off. Yeah,
they get
exactly,
a week off, and then the loser plays the winner of 5, 8, 7, 6. So it makes sense because you do all that graft throughout the whole tournament, and then you're almost getting punished for finishing second or whatever.
Well, you've all got to play the same amount of games and all that sort of thing. So it gives the rest to the team that's winning them. I mean, it's a good way of favouring basically the winners of the tournament, which I don't have a problem with at all, really.
I think it's a good idea.
So that's just a bit of a separate point. But so what's the prediction for Hyderabad then?
Look, if I take a prediction now, I'm going to say 4th. I think they might sneak into the playoffs.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the win to start helps, and I think obviously
it's a good team to get out of the way as well, RCB.
Well, absolutely, of course,
they're favourites.
Yeah. So I think with that, and obviously the experience of last year. And surely Warner here, I think he can't fail too many times in a row. So
he got a lot of runs last year.
They did. I think the top 2, Richard Darwin and Warner, performed exceptionally well last year.
Yep.
So that was kind of what took them through. And if they can get back to that kind of partnership, I can imagine it would be a very strong performance.
Very good. Thanks for that. So that was the Sunrisers Hyderabad. No. Yeah, Sunrise is Hyderabad. Yeah, I'm getting confused between them and the rising Pune Super Giants. Yeah. Anyway,
strange.
Giant, I think you should say now. Giant.
Oh, single.
They changed their name this year.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Cheese. Who have you got for us?
Kings 11 Punjab, first up.
Very good.
A bit of a wild card here. They're a bit of a smoky for the tournament, as far as I'm concerned. We've got some good overseas pros, though. Glenn Maxwell, captaining the side, unfortunately.
The big show.
How is Glenn Maxwell going to captain Owen Morgan and Darren Sammy? I mean, they're going to go, sorry, buddy, what are you talking about?
But then, presumably, we just said this before the pod, actually. So Morgan, you assume, would be a more obvious captain, but is leaving to on the 1st of May or whatever it is, because England are playing Ireland in the ODIs early May, which he's got to come back and captain for.
That makes sense. Doesn't make sense, Darren Sammy. Darren Sammy's captained this team before. He's captained
really?
He's captained the West Indies to a 2020 World Cup.
Yep.
Yeah,
So-
how old is Darren Sammy now, though? I mean,
I have no idea.
you could probably take a guess, couldn't you? I mean, you'd say he's probably going to be
he's only
mid-30s.
30.
He might
He's
be.
only 30. I
bet he's
thought he'd
younger
be
than you
easily
reckon.
mid-30s.
I bet he's no. I bet he's younger than you think, Sammy.
All right, well, should we put 10 quid on it? Just while we're...
I've got so many tabs open on my iPad now. I'm completely tiny.
I can tell you he's 33.
Well, halfway.
So I don't know who wins that, really. That's a draw, really. Yeah.
Maxwell's never captained... has he? Sorry, Marty. Has he captained a team?
No. Well, not that I know. He might have captained Victoria back in the day or something like that.
Right.
For a game or two here and there, but not that I, no.
Well, maybe it's based on their very poor performances over the last couple of years with Morgan and Sammy in charge, so they've decided to make a change.
Well, I mean, he's probably their best player, I'd say, isn't he? I mean, given the performances over the last few years, I don't know who else they've got in their team. I'm sure we're about to find out. But...
Marcus Stoinis might argue that point there.
Well, actually, I mean, Morgan actually could be a massive player this time because he's just off the back of those series against India.
Yeah.
And he did really well, got a lot of runs. So he could
They
be...
reckon he's going to struggle to get in the team there, don't they?
For England?
In Kings 11, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, again, they love all-rounders, don't they? So if you're just a batsman like he is, then maybe that's a problem.
Well, if you go through it, I mean, David Miller, I believe, I might
He's a good player.
Please tell me if I'm wrong, but he might be the most expensive player in the IPL currently from his contract that he got with these guys 2 years ago.
Really?
David Miller, yep. They've got Stoinis, Sean Marsh, Hashim Amla, Martin Guptill, Matt Henry, Gunn, Darren Sammy, and some bloke called Axar Patel, who's apparently supposed to be well known. He's played for India and things. It's supposed to be good.
Axar Patel, no.
They had Murali Vijay, but they've replaced him with Ishant Sharma because Murali Vijay's injured. So
Ishant might be quite useful, though. You never know.
I would have thought so, yeah.
Useful death bowler.
But I believe that David Miller is one of the most expensive players going around the IPL at the moment, so he's obviously quite quality. They've purchased a bloke called T. Natajaran for, I mean, he's a left armour, apparently in the same ilk as Mustafiz Rahman for $400,000 US.
Okay,
I think that's another interesting point to make. That
right.
The and you know we talk a lot about the money that's blowing around for the international players, but the actual Indian guys that are playing in the tournament.
Yeah, go on.
There's a lot of money to be made for them.
Oh, jeez. You've lost the plot.
Yeah, come on, mate. You're better than this.
It's fine. There's a lot of money to be made for those Indian players that are blowing around the tournament that are potentially going to be going and actually getting a full tournament's worth of cricket.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. If you're available for the whole thing, it makes a massive difference, doesn't it? Because, well, it's like what we were saying before. If you've got... Most squads have got 8 or 9 foreign players, and... of which you can only pick 4 in each side. So each team has to have a minimum of 7 Indian players in there. So if you've got, well, as you said before the podcast when we were chatting about it, presumably the side with the best Indian players is likely to win or at least get into the playoffs because
there's 7 of the team playing.
Pretty much, I think all 8 teams have got 4 gun foreigners.
Yeah.
So that almost cancels itself out. I suppose the best performing, depending on which team, makes a big difference. But
I think it would, wouldn't it? I mean, when it comes down to the foreigners, you know, obviously playing in Indian conditions under those sort of crowds.
I suppose some are just going to flop, aren't they?
Yeah, I think they will. You know, I think it's probably it's those ones that have really stood up in the past.
Yeah,
that'll make the difference. Or the ones that just can't perform this time, which I think potentially for my team, Warner may be that one. But
yeah, that's true. Yeah. So yeah.
Look, I mean, in terms of, we've got some injury issues. We've got Sean Marsh who's injured. Martin Guptill was obviously coming back from injury as well.
Is he going to be available soon? Do you know?
Well, I mean, they're saying maybe in a couple of weeks' time.
Okay.
But he's got to leave on May the 10th because New Zealand are playing in a quadrangular tournament against Bangladesh, Ireland, and some other.
Oh, as 50 overs, presumably warm-ups, are they for the Champions Trophy?
For the Champions Trophy.
Yeah.
So there's that. I mean, they've got a very strong batting lineup, as we heard from everybody. But having said that, when we're talking about the Indian players being available or the Indian players that we've got in the team, a very strong bowling lineup full of Indian players. Sandeep Sharma, apparently a very good swing bowler. Mohit Sharma, apparently he's very much in the ilk of a sort of Tamal Mills, not so fast, but bowls a lot of the back of the hand, slow balls. Ishant Sharma, obviously bringing a lot of experience.
Yep.
And then Axar Patel, who apparently brings a lot of control.
Oh, really?
But, you know, I've sort of read this, but Axar Patel, he played for India against England, Joe and Ed, so do you recall?
I never heard that. You'd think you'd remember a name like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah, no, I don't.
Axar, that's a unique name. So apparently he brings a lot of control. And then this fella, Natarajan, as I said before, is the sort of Mustafizur Rahman.
You've got that now, haven't you?
Similar.
Just go with Rahman.
Stay with
Rahman. Did you say Ishant Sharma before as well? I thought he didn't get picked up.
Well, he didn't, but Murali Vijay's injured, so they've gone for a pace bowler. So what's been described as a very potent bowling attack for the Kings Punjab 11. My prediction for them is second place.
Really?
That's pretty
reaching for the stars there.
That's only because my other team's going to come first.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Based on we're too reliant on pace bowling in India, it's going to be difficult. You know, if you don't have a very good spin bowler or a couple of good spin bowling options in India, you're probably going to be struggling.
Yeah.
We'll score a lot of runs, bit of an experience, and basically Glenn Maxwell is going to let us down.
Fair enough. Very good. Right. So that's the Kings 11 Punjab. Crowther, who have you got for us?
Yeah, I'll start off with Royal Challengers Bangalore.
The favourites.
Well, the favourites, and did we say we each put in 20 quid on this?
Yeah.
And so, whoever's team wins or whatever. So yeah, I thought this would be the easiest 80 quid I would ever make in my life, due to the fact that my top order was going to be Gale, Kohli, and De Villiers, which is relatively handy. Obviously, Kohli's injured. And I don't know where EB De Villiers is.
I'm pretty sure he's injured for this game. I think that was the case.
I understand Kohli's only missing the first 2 games, and obviously the first one was today, so he might be back after the next game, I think. So, I mean, Kohli scored an unbelievable amount of runs. He scored nearly 1,000 runs or something last year. 4 centuries in 16 games. It was ridiculous. So, if he gets back, I know he wasn't on form against the Aussies, but if he gets back to his best, then I mean, he can win it on his own. Yeah.
Yeah, hopefully. We got Shane Watson as captain today, so I wasn't quite sure what to make of
Shane the Pairs
Watto. But yeah, I mean, on paper it's a pretty good team. They're with a sort of South African. Can I say we? Since I'm following, I guess I can.
You say we.
You can say, of course, it's we.
Yeah, we're the South Africans of the IPL, 3 times runners up. So we need to.
And Simon Mills, of course.
Tamar Mills.
Did he play today?
He did. He actually did relatively well. I think he went for 7s.
Yeah.
The ball 4 overs for about 28, something like that. I think he got a wicket because they got 210 or something. So.
I saw a few highlights of him. His slow balls are impossible, aren't they?
Yeah, because he bowls it.
People are way through their shot before it gets to them.
Well, A, they've got it in their head that it's going to be super fast.
Yeah.
And B, he bowls it with the same speed of arms. So if he can stay fit through this tournament, I think he'll be pretty good. I mean, it's quite a powerhouse team. I would have thought these guys would have won it, but
they're definitely
not sort of to a good start.
They are like the Man City, really, aren't they?
Expect the unexpected.
IPL. And we've got Daniel Harry Potter Vittori as head coach as well. You see, so we've got some quality coaching. It just looks like one of those teams where they've got so carried away with all this powerhouse batting, they've kind of forgot. Bowlers are really the game breakers in 2020 cricket because of the bats, the boundaries, everything's stacked in favour of the batsman. So actually the thing that really wins you the 2020 stuff is the bowlers. and they've not really. They've gone all out for the batting, and that's where we may come unstuck. We've got Badri from the West Indies, who
he's a good bowler.
Yeah, he's like Rashid, isn't he? He can turn it both ways, which is handy in 2020.
I think Chahal played really well last year as well, didn't he? In the IPL, I think he got a lot of wickets. He bowled brilliantly today,
right?
And I think he got a load of wickets last year. And
I have to admit, I don't know who some of these.
And he got 6 for 25 in the when England collapsed in their last T20 in Bangalore.
Oh yeah,
he got 6 for 25.
Right.
So he's a really good spinner. So he could be really, really handy.
And star player, we have a guy called Sachin Baby, who batted in the middle order today. I was absolutely astonished when I saw that name. So I googled him, and he was from Kerala. But actually, Joe found out more than me in the end. I'm sure.
Yeah, so his name is Sachin Baby, and he was born in 1988. A week after a 15-year-old Sachin Tendulkar scored a first-class century on debut for presumably Mumbai or whichever region Mumbai is part of. So Sachin scored 100 on debut in first class, and he was only 15 years old. And a week later, a cricket-mad, brand new father had a son and named him Sachin Baby. Extraordinary. And now he's playing for RCB.
I can't believe it.
Unbelievable.
That is incredible, really.
That's extraordinary.
So I was the same when I saw that name. I thought, it's either a complete coincidence,
taking the mic,
or it is literally someone.
How old must it make Sachin feel that a guy named after him is playing in the IPL?
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
So not a good start. Have you guys done famous Bollywood fans? For you, who your team is?
Oh no.
What?
No, I haven't actually. Yeah.
Sean Tate.
Katrina Kaif. How nice is she?
Oh, hold on a second. We're going to get on.
You guys have not done your research, clearly.
I forgot about.
This was the best part of my day.
I know. So I know that I think it was on Death of a Gentleman, the documentary that we were explaining basically the explosion of IPL cricket and stuff, and why it is just so adored by the fans. It basically crosses India's two most beloved things, and one is Bollywood and one is like cricket. So the IPL is a massive amalgamation of those two things, hence all the the massive sort of glitz and glamour that goes with the whole event. So that's how they kind of think of it. So they all do have like their famous.
Oh, they do.
Bollywood
I've been trolling for them all.
They're always at the games.
Yeah.
And
Sean Tate married a famous Bollywood actress.
Oh, really?
And apparently he's just a superstar now.
Oh, really?
Just, no matter what he does, he was the best cricketer ever.
Really?
Outside of India.
Wow.
I don't know what
amazing,
her name. It'll find that out.
I'll find that out.
Yeah.
I've only just found this out today, and it's been brand new information for
What's
me.
her name? Kaif.
Katrina Kaif.
Katrina Kaif.
She can tell everybody she's fantastic if you've never seen who she is before, and
she's a big RCB fan.
So I guess we're putting her photo up on Twitter or Facebook as well.
She might edge out Matty Rogers on my computer background. I'm taking it that seriously. I have to tell you. Yeah.
Fair enough. So what's
my prediction is third.
Yeah. Third? Really?
Yeah.
Why third?
Behind King's 11.
Because we're going to suffer from slow start syndrome by the looks of it, I think. And
that's quite symptomatic of that team, isn't it?
Yeah,
that they always
just not enough bowling.
Okay,
very good. Right, well then it's my turn. So I'm going to start off with telling you a little bit about Mumbai Indians. So they're obviously. Famously one of the biggest clubs. I know when it all first started, it was obviously Sachin's team where he's from, so he always played for them, and I think coached them a little bit. I think at one point they had Ponting, Sachin, and De Villiers in the top three. So they've always had massive names and always had the sort of the big money players and stuff. And this year's not much different, really. Their bowling attack is quite special. So they've got Malinga, Mitchell Johnson. And Tim Southey and Mitchell McClenaghan. I mean, they've got plenty of foreigners in there. I don't know how they're going to squeeze them all in. They've also got Josh Butler, who's obviously going to be one of their massive gun batsmen, presumably, along with Rohit Sharma, who's I think he cost $1.7 million. So he's obviously a massive name and potentially a pretty explosive guy. Plus, they've got Gunaratne from Sri Lanka, who's that guy that won that game against the Aussies quite recently. He's a good player. Kyron Pollard is obviously a very useful all-rounder, big hitter. Lendl Simmons as well. So they've got loads of massive names. Really, it's a little bit of a similar problem to that to Kings 11 Punjab Cheese that was sort of saying that I don't know how you pick four of them, because if you've got I mean, they've got Jasprit Bumrah, who's a really good medium-fast bowler, so he'll play. But then they've got Southee, Malinga, McClenaghan and Mitchell Johnson. Mitchell Johnson's been in incredible form for BBL, wasn't he?
He was.
I think he bowled 4 overs, 4 wickets for 4 runs or something stupid in the semi or something like that.
The interesting thing about trying to balance those teams with those international players is that, like, when you see them stacked in one particular department, like batting or bowling, then you kind of look at it and go, well, how's that going to work? If you stack with batters, well then...
Especially when a lot of them are foreign.
Yeah.
So you're leaving a load of batsmen out when you've not got any...
Yeah.
But yeah, so...
Well, team spirit's going to be one of the hardest things, isn't it? Because you're going to get people who are sat around and getting...
Yeah, they're sort of meant to be on massive contracts, but not really getting paid it because they're not being picked, and it's going to be very difficult. But I mean, they've got some good all-rounders. Obviously, Karen Pollard, Josh Butler, I guess, is an all-rounder, and... they've also got Harbhajan Singh at 36 years old. So
really?
Yeah, so I don't know how he's going to get on, but I presume he doesn't even play around the world T20, I don't think, does he? So I guess he just plays IPL, so it must be a bit weird just playing one tournament every year. Having said that, I don't know if he's in the Ranji Trophy. I don't know, to be honest. So they're a good side. They've got some massive players, and if people like Malinga and Johnson... That is a horrible sort of death bowling combo, isn't it? I mean,
so where's Malinga at? Because he hasn't played for a while.
Malinga?
Is he?
I think he's still playing T20s and stuff, so he's...
I mean, you say it's horrible, but I mean, both those guys are obviously... I know you're saying that Johnson had a good BBL, and he did, but they're quite old now, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, Johnson's 35, Malinga's 33, actually.
Is that all he is?
Yeah, you think he'd be older,
I would have thought he'd be older than that.
Yeah.
Again, he feels like he's been around for a long time.
Yeah, so I think it's still quality, and then you've got Jasprit Bumrah, who's turned into a really good player. And then some big hitters with Butler and obviously Rohit Sharma and Kieran Pollard. So they've got some big hitters. It's a reasonably well-balanced side, really. I'm hoping Josh Butler sort of gets some runs. I don't think he's not scored a sackful of runs. I think he's got a few in other competitions, but I think he's yet to really explode onto the IPL. So that would be pretty cool.
Has he got the full tournament?
I think he's the same as Morgan, so I think he's up until the Island Games.
May the 10th.
He was in abysmal form though for England, wasn't he?
Yeah, so I mean that's the other thing. England will really want him to get into some runs before the Champions Trophy, really, because he's had a poor winter really by his standards. So that's quite exciting. But yeah, I mean they're a great side. They've obviously played at the Wankhede Stadium, which is a very atmospheric and it's very famous kind of Indian place. So that's. I think they'll be very expectant. I think Mumbai are a little bit like Man United over there, so I think everyone in Mumbai are obviously crazy about the Mumbai Indians, but as a city, it's sort of a lot of people outside of Mumbai aren't huge fans of them, if you know what I mean. So they're kind of the team that everyone loves to beat, I think. So that's a bit challenging, but they're a good side, and I would I think they'll definitely be in the playoffs. They could go on to win it this year. But also, I reckon they'll be in that final one way or another. So they're a top side. So that's the Mumbai Indians. I'm afraid I don't know who their Bollywood famous star is.
But you guys need to. You can do yours next week.
Yeah, I'll update everyone next week on Mumbai Indians' famous star Bollywood fans. But anyway, so that's the Mumbai Indians. Marty, on to your second team.
Well, thank you, Joe. I think we're talking now about the rising Pune super giant, as I said earlier in the podcast, that they've changed their name under the idea, which is probably the worst bit of explanation for a marketing change I've ever heard. Which is previously last year there were some super giants. This year the team in itself is a super giant.
Really?
That's just awful. Awful.
Where does the rising come from? What is rising?
Well, they're a new team. Oh, relatively new team.
Well, it's their second year, isn't it? So,
yeah.
And look, last year they had a bit of a poor first initial season in the competition. Finished 7th, which is
right.
I think, given who they had and so forth in the team, it was a bit of a poor performance. I think they won their first game, then I think they lost about 4 on the trot after that. And
I think they were
struggled.
They were thrown together quite quickly after all those teams got sort of dismantled, shall we say? I think.
Yeah. So we're not going to talk about why that was, but that's exactly what happened. Look, I mean, this team is actually really quite impressive. If you look through this list here, I mean, you've got Smith as captain, you've got an ex-New Zealand as the coach in a Fleming as well. So we've got Dhoni, Rahane, Faf du Plessis. I mean, you've got some guys with leadership experience.
So Dhoni stood down, hasn't he?
He stood down. I mean, he stood down as captain, and Smith's been appointed. So it's going to be very much like what we spoke about here in the podcast a few weeks ago, and when we talk about Kohli taking over from Dhoni. Now, obviously, it's a bit not hard to compare an Indian captain of 10 years being stepping down and staying in the team for one of his younger players. But I think this is probably going to be very similar, for an Indian team here with Dhoni. To, I guess, not be in charge, and Smith being the Australian essentially the enemy for the last month or so after that heated Test series. So I think it'll be quite interesting to see how it pans out. I mean, I know Rahane was questioned about it in some press conferences and so forth, and obviously said the right things about how they'll give him his space and so forth. But I think it'll be interesting just to see exactly what happens on the on the actual pitch once with Smith in charge, if things aren't going well, whether Dhoni tries to, I guess, to exert any of his influence. But look, if you look at this team, I mean, this is a strong team. This is a very strong team. I mean, I don't know whether they were the fourth or the fifth favourites or something like that. But if you look through this, you've got Smith, who's obviously in super form. It's just super form. I know it was test form, but really, I mean, he's seeing the ball like a beach ball. You've got Dhoni, you've got Rahane, you've got Faf du Plessis, you've got Stokes. Obviously the most expensive overseas player in the team coming in.
That is some top five.
You've got a Dan Christian. You've also obviously these are the overseas players, and Imran Tahir's come in. The downside is they've lost two of their probably better players. They've lost Ashwin, who's obviously pulled out with the injuries that he sustained during the Test series. So that's a bit of a loss. I did read actually that Nathan Lyon was going to replace him. That was from the Deccan Chronicle. That's what it said. So I don't know whether that's like the Daily Mail or like the Times. But so I'm not sure whether we believe that. But that'd be great for Nathan Lyon. But also Mitch Marsh, who I can imagine. I mean, I know I've certainly said my fair share of things about him in the Test team, but when it comes to things like a T20, that's really his format.
Right.
Because if he can bowl at 140 and hit the ball out of the park, then we put him next to Stokes in the middle order, and that would have been incredibly strong. So I think I think Dan Christian is a decent replacement, or at least a support for Ben Stokes. But yeah, I mean that team itself, if they can keep everyone fit on the park, I think they'll be very hard to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, sounds good. So you've got two good teams actually. You don't seem to have one stronger than the other. They're both quite.
Well, yeah, we do. I mean, there's a few.
Can't buy team spirit, Joe.
No, look, I mean, there's a few younger players that we all know. There's the New Zealand Lockie Ferguson, Adam Zampa, like the Australian spinner and so forth, and obviously some good young Indian players as well, just to bring it up. So I mean, look, personally, I think they've got a good chance of stepping right up into the finals, even first or second. I think this year.
Marty's super confident. Where are you going to take us with your £80 winnings, Marty?
Just you wait.
We'll just go to the Falcon.
Which Falcon?
Just for change.
Do we have any stats on what Lockie Ferguson went for? What did he get paid?
I can have a look at my notes here, and I didn't write it down, but I can tell you next week, Cheese, if you want.
I'll Google it now.
I mean, good on him. I'm really pleased. I mean, Lockie Ferguson's a lad that's come up in Auckland, and he's a young fella. He's always been touted as a very fast bowler. He should never have left Cornwall Cricket Club, but hey, that's the way the life goes. Now he's
a Cornwall boy as well.
He's a Cornwall boy, but now he's been picked in the IPL, and I'm I was surprised when I heard that this afternoon, based on him playing 2 games against Australia.
It's just funny how it works though with the IPL. It's very difficult to understand the formula that goes behind.
$104,000
US.
He was in bed when his phone rang in the early hours.
There's a time difference, to be fair. He might not just be being lazy.
I'm sure he was.
Yeah. I was
one of the laziest men I've ever met.
Yeah, I was trying to nab an early night's sleep when my phone went. $104,000, yeah.
Oh, yeah? That's not a bad phone call to get. Is you nodding off?
Happy days.
Cool. Okay, well, that's the rising Pune supergiant. So thanks for that, Marty. So, Cheese, who's your second team?
The Gujarat Lions.
They're well fancied, this lot.
Definitely favourites for the tournament. It was their first... I'm claiming it both. First season last year, and they blew the field away in the round robin games, and then blew out in the qualifiers.
Right.
Unfortunately, but they've retained.
So they finished top of the league then.
Yeah,
proper.
They finished top in the round robins, I think you call it, and then blew out in the qualifying games. They lost their first 2 qualifying games. I mean, I think everybody talks about a stacked team, but. I have to say, this is your favourites. It really is. Look, Brendan McCullum, without saying.
No wonder.
Yeah, there we go. There it is.
Jadeja, Dwayne Smith, Aaron Finch, Suresh Raina, Dinesh Karthik, James Faulkner, Marty, he's in there. Praveen Kumar, Jason Roy,
Yeah,
mate, that's a hell of a buy. My favourite ever cricketer, Munaf Patel. Dwayne Bravo. I'll come back to why he's my favourite cricketer. Dwayne Bravo. He's a very good all-rounder. Yeah. And a bloke called Andrew Tye, who I've never heard of, but he's picked up an IPL contract, man. He's an Australian.
Who's he?
Andrew Tye.
Don't really know much about him.
Yeah.
Neither do I. Apparently he's a very good death bowler.
Oh, really?
So they've obviously picked him up just a bit.
That is a good squad. I will give you that.
I would have thought
There's
so,
some big names in there. And is McCullum captain?
No, Suresh Rainer's the captain.
Rainer, right? Okay.
So they're coming off the back of a good season last year without quite finishing off. They've bought in Munaf Patel as an opening bowler. He's got a lot of experience in the IPL, and again, touching on the subject of being a local player. So they've obviously gone to sort of expand their or spent a little bit more money on bringing in a local player to fill in a crucial role for them where they failed last year in the knockout games in terms of their bowling at clutch stages. So they bought in Munaf Patel.
Fair enough.
A fella called Basil Tampi, who's been touted the Kerala Quick.
The Kerala Quick.
Apparently he touches
Quick.
Apparently he touches on 140k plus in every over.
Really?
So yeah, they've labelled him the Kerala Quick. They've retained a bloke called Shival Kaushik, who played, and look, this is according to the Hindi Times, played for the Hull County Cricket Club.
Yeah. I don't quite understand who or what they are, but
shed some light.
Hull, as in
Hull's in Yorkshire,
Hull
but
in
it's not a
England.
county.
No, there's
Hull County Cricket Club.
Maybe it's Hull Cricket Club, but
yeah, it might well be. Yeah.
He's landed himself an LPL.
He's done pretty well if he's played for Hull Cricket Club and gets an IPL contract.
He's come out of Hull. Good on him.
Yeah.
So obviously a very strong batting lineup. Last year they were the only team to score 70 in a power play. They did it 4 times.
Really?
Yeah, 4 times.
And they're the only ones to do it?
The only guys to do it, and they did it 4 times. And they also had 5 batsmen who scored 300 plus runs total, who they've retained. Suresh Raina, McCullum, Aaron Finch, gun at the top of the order, obviously.
Well, is he still these days? Is he still firing, Finch?
He's still doing really well. I think he had some really good stats in the Big Bash, Muddy.
Because I know that he's. He sort of burst onto the scene a few years back, and he's not done a huge amount in the last sort of 12 to 18 months. But I mean, he's still a great player. I mean, if he fires with McCullum at the top of the order, that's frightening.
Yeah. I think with Suresh Raina, Dinesh Karthik as well scored 300 plus runs, and then Dwayne Smith scored 300 plus runs.
Last year?
Yeah.
Really?
So they've obviously got some of the better batters in the team. So look, my pick for them is first place. If we're going to be honest,
champions. Okay.
They've got a great gun batting lineup. Dwayne Bravo, obviously, he's absolute quality.
Yeah.
With the ball bowling his sort of, he bowls a lot of variation, but also brings a lot to the sort of mid to lower order. Throw him alongside Munaf Patel.
Yeah.
Jadeja. And James Faulkner as well, Marty. I'm tipping him to be a quality player.
I think that's a strong player, Faulkner. He just for this kind of format, he's just suits him down to a tee. He's a finisher with the bat. He's got lots of different variations in his bowling.
He played very well
for balls and so forth as well. And he's got a bit of in-your-face attitude. He's a little bit like a poor man Stokes.
He played very well for Lancashire last year in the NatWest T20 in England, and they won it last year. So he did. I think they won it. I think they did, didn't they?
We're expecting a bit more from him for the.
No, Northants won it last year, didn't they?
The year before. Faulkner had a big say.
He got done for drink driving, didn't he?
Yeah. But anyway, he played really well for Lancashire last summer.
Dan Carter.
Yeah, he's and like you say, I think he was. Quite in your face sort of guy. So
that's the way he plays cricket.
Yeah, and it seems like that goes down quite well in India by the looks of things.
Well, he's also mates with KP too, so I'm not sure that's.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh god.
We're expecting a bit more out of him for the Lions.
Yeah, right. Let's move on.
I wonder which team Piers Morgan supports. Let's try and find that out. Right.
Right. Cheers, Chiefs. So they are the Gujarat Lions, and they play some of their games. I don't know if all their games at Kanpur, which is one of the stadiums I went to when I was over there, which is a lovely little ground between sort of up towards Agra, between sort of Varanasi and Agra.
Good atmosphere.
Great little atmosphere. It's about 40,000 people. It's not small. They've also got the largest manual scoreboard in the world, which is awesome. and it's a really cool little city. It's brilliant. So it's it's a good place. So good job, Lions. Right, Crowther, your second team.
Delhi Daredevils. Preeti Zinta is the famous.
She looks like the Mona Lisa.
That's kind of what I was thinking earlier.
Yeah, she really does.
Yeah, I got to get to India. So perennial underachievers, the Delhi Daredevils, never been past the semi-finals.
Really?
But I'm going to tell you why they could be dark horses this year, because of their bowling attack. They're going for all-out pace. So we've got Pat Cummins, Rabada, and we've got Yadav and Shami as well.
That's a good bowling lineup.
That's a very good.
That's
bowling.
very strong.
So if you're gonna bang away back of the length, try and really jam in at them, and then maybe bowl fast Yorkers later.
Yeah.
Cummins.
These could be dark horses, I think, because of
what have they got by way of batting power though?
Well. Also Zaire Khan, I presume, is going to play because he's the coach as well. So
he's going to play.
I guess so. He's the coach,
Can they
and
do that?
he's on the playing list.
It might do.
Wow.
I was a playing coach.
Yeah, they used to do that quite a lot, I think.
Well, back in the day, but so a lot of sports.
Yeah.
And Raul Dravid's the head coach as well.
Okay.
So
He could play too.
good setup.
On the playing list.
I'm not in 2020.
The wall.
The
in
wall.
2020.
They're trying to score 10 and over, cheese.
Well, they wouldn't be able to get him out.
So
Batting foot draw at the end.
So the batting. I mean, there's Corey Anderson, who he did hold the record briefly for the fastest one-day 100.
It was short-lived, but he was. Yeah, he's a good player. He's a very good player. He's unproven in the IPL though.
My man Billings.
Sam
Could be a good
Billings.
signing.
He
Big
can't get into
tournament
the
for him.
England team, so surely he can't get into that team.
Well,
There's not many batsmen by the sound of it.
yeah. I mean, there's really Billings and Anderson. There's Angelo Matthews, who's a good all-round cricketer.
He's class,
Yeah,
Matthews.
he's
He'll get in,
class.
surely.
But they've gone completely the way from Royal Challengers. They really stacked the bowling.
It's not a bad idea, though.
No, I think that's where
often
2020
wins
is
you
won and lost, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really in the bowling, you can probably, most of the time, batters are going to get loads of runs. It's whoever bowls better or whatever.
Especially on some of the pitches where it's a sort of a bit of a batsman's paradise. If the team that can kind of restrict a team to under 200 might be the winner. So if you can, if it's a real road, then most teams will be able to smash it around. But if you've got a good bowling lineup, you might be able to restrict them a bit.
Yeah. So
Make the
I think the Delhi Daredevils could be. I'm not going to get as carried away as Cheese is about his picks, but I'm quietly confident.
It's different, isn't it? It's a different type of lineup to a lot of the other teams.
Yeah, that's no bad thing, though,
Yeah,
that's good.
And I think, I'm quietly confident about the Delhi Daredevils. Yeah.
Very good. Yeah. Right, so the final one and the eighth and final team for the IPL this year is the Kolkata Knight Riders. So they're my second team. I wouldn't say it's the strongest lineup in the whole competition, although they've got Gautam Gambhir, who I think he was the fourth, top scorer last year in terms of runs behind Kohli, Warner and ABD. So,
Wow.
He came fourth. Yeah, got like over 500 runs, I think, or near enough. So I mean, he's a $1.5 million player, Gambhir. Unbelievable. So he's captain. They've also got Darren Bravo, who's another sort of, I guess, big name. They've also got Chris Woakes, who cost $620,000. Excuse me. So it's a big tournament for him because he doesn't actually get in the England T20 team. So it's just quite interesting to see that he picked up such a big contract. Funnily enough, in the one-day series that England played there in January, England beat India at Kolkata in the wonderful Eden Gardens, which is where they play. And but it's Chris Woakes who got them over the line at the end with some really good death bowling. So obviously in front of the Kolkata, presumably they're bored and whatever, all the famous players there are watching. So that might have just put him in the shop window for a contract there. So
it could have been, and I suppose it would have. But I mean, I sort of wonder how some of these players get picked at times for that type of money. But whether it is just because they identify that we need this type of player, which is the seam bowling all rounder, can bowl it. Because what does he bowl at 135, 140?
I mean he's quick now.
He's quick.
Yeah.
So,
I mean it seems to be that all rounders are the ones that are kind of the buzz. They seem stacked in every team.
Well, I think so. I mean, if you look at the teams as well. I mean, a lot of the teams have at least probably three probably genuine type of all-rounder.
Top players as well,
yeah,
usually.
that's right.
I think also the timing of it, the timing that they're in it as well, because I heard, I'm not sure if you guys heard Daniel Vittori being interviewed, being asked about Tamal Mills getting that amount of money.
Yeah.
It was his team, and they were saying that because they had a lot of money left over from the first year, so they'd spent a lot of money in the year before,
right,
they had a stack load more cash to spend that particular year, whereas a lot of other teams didn't have that kind of money to spend. So if they're particularly looking for somebody...
Because they've got players in for like 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, you've already got people
contracts.
on a 3-year contract, so you've all of a sudden got this stack of cash to spend on a particular skill set that you need so they can afford to do it.
That makes sense, yeah. So I mean, they've still got some good players. I mean, they've got Pathan, they've got Shakib Al Hassan, who's the good Bangladeshi bowler. I know he was on a quiz question last week, wasn't he? And he's had some amazing stats. We've also got Colin de Grandhomme.
Replaced Russell.
He's replaced Andre Russell. So it was meant to be captained by Andre Russell, or at least he was. I think so. Or right. I mean, I've got Gambier here. I don't know. Maybe it was Gambier, but I know Russell was meant to be a big player for them, and he's obviously not playing for. I think he's 12 months out. Is he? I think.
Yeah.
After a drugs ban, or not a drugs ban, but not failing to turn up to a drugs test, I think is the official line. So
we'll say a drugs ban. Let's just leave it at
it's
that.
drugs related ban.
Drugs
anyway.
related.
So he's dropped out. So Colin de Grandhomme, who I know he's played pretty well in the recent games for New Zealand. So that might be interesting. Umesh Yadav as well, who they've got in there, is going to be a useful fast bowler. So they're all right. The other big name, of course, they have got, who I've failed to mention, is Sunil Narayan. So he's a $1.2 million dollar contract. So he must, I can imagine him being really useful in India. So he's good. So they've got some good players. Trent Bolt as well. So they're all right. I wouldn't say they're stacked full of the absolute superstars like some of the other teams. So they'll be, if they have a good year, they'll be pushing into the top 4, I guess. But they're not exactly one of the favourites. Put it that way.
You guys don't really back yourselves, do you?
Neither will Leicester City, But
yeah,
things can change.
Yeah. So, but you never know. I mean, that's the beauty of 2020, I suppose. Anything can happen. So we'll be following it closely. There's a game on tomorrow. I think one of my teams is playing tomorrow. I'm right in saying. So we'll try and keep up with the games week by week and keep everyone informed as to what's happening. But anyway, so there are 2 major tournaments that are starting this week. One has got loads of razzmatazz and glitz and glamour and big hits and massive stadiums full of loads of people. And the other one's the IPL. Or not. So the English County Championship is starting on Friday. I think there's only 3 games, happening this weekend. But obviously it's going to be another very, very interesting year. It finished obviously on such a high last year with whatever it was, 15,000 people at Lord's to watch Middlesex.
We were there, weren't we?
We were there.
It was my birthday.
Was it your actual birthday?
Yeah, it was my birthday. And then went to Home House afterwards.
Really?
It was a quality. Do you not? I
remember it being a big night. Yeah. But yeah, so Middlesex obviously beat Yorkshire on the last day of the whole competition, and there's, I think, probably more than just those 2 teams who are in the hunt again. Warwickshire have got a good side, so it's all going to be, it's all to take, I suppose. So I don't know who's going to win it this year. I'm hoping Yorkshire might make it 3 out of 4 coming up. They've still got a chance, but
how do you think, as you're a big Yorkshire fan, what do you think about the whole Gailey as coach thing? Do you think it's a bit too
I don't know.
Straight from player to manager, or?
Well, it's difficult to know, isn't it? Because I think if you speak to all the players, I suppose they would say this, but they'd say he's just going to fit them all perfectly because he was sort of going in that direction anyway. It probably came, I think, as a bit of a surprise to him when he was offered it. I don't know in terms of how much he's actually done before with the Badgers and all the rest of it, or whether that's even important. Probably not. But Gillespie's definitely a big loss because he clearly took Yorkshire from being, having a lot of good players but a really average side into an absolutely world-class outfit. So Gillespie must be a brilliant coach or manager or whatever the actual title you give it. So it's a massive challenge for Gale. My fear about Yorkshire at the moment is they've got a really ageing bowling attack. So
Side Bottom's last year, isn't it?
Side Bottom's final year. He's announced he's retiring at the end of the season. So he's I think he's 39 or 40 now. Even people like Jack Brooks, who's always taken a lot of wickets over the last few years, Plunkett, He'll probably be involved in the Champions Trophy. Bresnan, Stephen Patterson, they're all the wrong side of 30. So
what about that Fisher lad?
Well, I mean, he looks good.
Awesome.
They do have some quality coming through, but whether it's sort of championship winning quality is the question. But they've got, I mean, the thing is about people like Patterson and Bresnan who will play all of the summer, and Brooks. They're still quality, I think, and Sidebottom was as good as ever last season. So if they're still firing at their best, then they've arguably got the best bowling attack still. But
how do you think Gailey will get on with Rashid? When Rashid pulled out that game at the end of the season, and he tweeted out, "We only want people to take on the park who are passionate about playing for Yorkshire County Cricket."
Yeah, it was a bit weird. So I think Rashid had been involved in the England setup, hadn't he? And then for Yorkshire's last game, which was a winner-take-all decider against Middlesex in the last county championship game, Rashid pulled out only a day or two before. And like you see, so Gailey said...
Quite a strong tweet.
It was a big thing, yeah. And, I mean, Rashid's still there. He'll be involved in the England setup as well for the Champions Trophy, presumably, so he won't be around. Although, presumably, he'll be around right now until May.
He'll be around and then he'll be back again. So.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's still got a big part to play. So it will be interesting to see what happens there, because it was quite a funny way to sort of finish the season. Apparently, Rashid had some bad family news, which was the reason he didn't play.
Is that the kind of thing that you want to be pushing out into the public?
No, but then, I mean, he'd played up until then, and then he went straight on the India tour. So it kind of looked like...
Maybe it didn't look good, but then it was unusual for the captain at that time, which Gale was, to sort of tweet out and say, I only want players who want to be there, or something along those lines. So that was quite a bold thing to say, and now he's the coach, so which he obviously didn't know was going to happen at the time. But so it's quite a tough one. But I mean, they've got a new captain, obviously, with Gale moving on. So Gary Ballance is the captain now. He's hit some early season form, I think, so he looks quite good. And Alex Lees and Adam Lyth, who are at the top of the order, played brilliantly.
I think Lees will be a good player.
Well, they put on 200 this week against the university side, so they've got.
Because Hamid's done his hand again. You see that?
Yeah, that's a bit worrying, isn't it?
Really?
If him and or Jennings doesn't work out, somebody like Lees or Gubbins, if they can get some early season...
I think Gubbins at Middlesex is a good player. Adam Lyth has sort of had his chance, but I thought he looked very good again last season, so he might come into the England.
Going to be there or thereabouts always, isn't he? Because he's a good first-class player.
But yeah, Alex Lees he was always touted about as an England player, Alex Lees, and he's the last couple of seasons he's just fallen off a little bit, but he's grown into a bit of a leadership figure at Yorkshire as well. He was in charge of the white ball cricket, I think, last season. I presume Ballance is taking all three formats now, because Gale wasn't really involved in the white ball stuff. But
does Ballance taking over the captaincy mean that he's given up his England hopes? Or
I don't know, maybe. I mean, I don't think you just give up like that, do you? But I think Yorkshire asking him to do it is probably a sign of maybe they think he's going to be available all summer, which I think is probably accurate.
He'd have to get so many runs now.
Yeah, he's
unselectable for England at the moment.
Yeah.
It was such a shock that he got picked again last summer, wasn't it? I mean,
well, he went on the India tour, didn't he?
And he went, yes, of course. And then he went away all winter, didn't he? But he had no form coming into the Pakistan stuff over here.
Yeah,
managed to get picked and obviously got no runs. And,
I think he's far enough down the pecking order to expect him to at least not play this summer. If he has a really good summer, then maybe. He might get picked right at the end, but it's going to take a lot for him to get back into the reckoning. But that said, he could be a brilliant county captain. So England's sort of non-losses Yorkshire's game. So so that could be quite interesting. What about you, Ed? Who are your favourites?
I think it'll be between Middlesex, Yorkshire, and Warwickshire. I think. I just don't know how Gale's. I just think it's going to be a difficult transition. I think Gillespie's a big loss. So I think Yorkshire might just miss out this year. But then again, it's hard to retain, isn't it, from Middlesex' point of view? But Middlesex has got a really good team now. They've got three really. I mean, if you can they've loaned out James Harris. So if you can afford to loan somebody like that out, I mean,
where's he gone then?
He's gone to Kent. The season before last, he got 60 wickets for Middlesex in Div 1. So if because obviously
they've got a good side there. So they're captained again by Franklin, aren't they, Middlesex?
Yeah, but
Toby Rowland-Jones, Gubbins,
and Finn
playing most of the time. Yeah.
Murta,
Compton.
Yeah.
Compton,
Milan. Milan's a class player. Obviously, you got Gubbins and that Esniaki, I think his name is, looks a good young player as well. So.
Is there
John Simpson? John Simpson, yeah.
McCullum's coming for 9 games, I think.
Yeah. He's been named captain of their 2020 team.
Oh, has he?
Yeah, today. Yeah.
And Danny Vittori is coming up. Yeah, his coaches. So Middlesex are the first side to do this. I wonder if it might be something that we start seeing, especially, I guess, in the run-up to the new competition in 2020. But yeah, so Middlesex have named Daniel Vittori as their 2020 coach just for that.
Derbyshire have John Wright.
2020s.
Yeah. So he's only doing 2020.
2020.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So they've both gone out, but I don't think, as far as I know, any other clubs are sort of doing that just for that period. So that's quite an interesting sort of change this year that you would think. I mean, it's it costs money, isn't it? But you think that might be something that we see more and more of.
Who's Middlesex head coach outside of that?
Well, Angus Fraser's director of cricket.
Yeah.
Is it a guy called Richard Johnson? Am I right?
Might be.
That?
The old seamer.
I think I'm right in saying that. Angus Fraser's definitely director of cricket.
Yeah.
And then the other two, I mean, we're going to see Notts and Durham in Div 2, which is it's going to be interesting.
It's good for Surrey, though, because we've picked up 2 of the Durham players.
Well, there's a lot of talk about Surrey.
Damon and Borthwick.
There's a lot of talk about Surrey having a very strong squad this year.
Well, if you look at it from last year, they started off really slowly, didn't they? Obviously, they just come up from Division 2. They struggled. They had a lot of injuries to their seamers. I think they were languishing at the bottom of the table for the first half of the season. I think they went on a winning run of 3 or 4 games and ended up finishing 5th. So look, if you look at their bowling line, it's pretty strong. I mean, you've got the Curran brothers, you've got Footif, you've got Mika.
What's happened to Mika?
Mika's...
Has he been injured for ages?
Maybe he was injured, I'm not sure. But they had awful injury troubles last year. They've also got Jay Dernbach, who can sort of fill in from time to time as well.
He's serious pace as well, Mika.
Footit is as well.
Yeah,
that's true.
I presume Sangakkara is playing in the county championship as well. I'm not sure, and he's definitely playing in the shorter version. But he probably will to strengthen that. If Jason Roy plays some games,
strengthen it. There's more than that.
Well, okay, fine, but we know what I mean. Also,
best player in the tournament.
What's the keeper's name?
Yeah, Folks. So Wilson's gone to Derby. So
he's
finally,
I know Stuart came out and said about him how strong he's.
Did he call Ben Folks the best keeper in the world this week?
He did,
yeah. I'm not making that up on
That's a slight bit of hyperbole, I imagine.
Yeah,
but
I think he's a very good keeper. I don't think he's not on the same batting level as obviously Bairstow and Butler and Billings and that, but
he's only young, isn't he?
He's an awesome keeper. Yeah,
right.
So look, I think they'll be quite strong this year too. So hopefully they can at least cement themselves in the top.
Yeah, they've got a chance.
Top in the first division.
And what about Warwickshire then? So I noticed Ian Bella's just signed a new contract there to extend his stay.
Do you think he'll play for England again, or
Ian Bell?
Yeah,
he's past it now, surely. Isn't
I wouldn't have thought so.
It's
but
I mean, they're not going to bring him in for the
I'm not saying he's not good enough, but surely they'd look to a future player.
But surely he would have done a better job last winter than Gary Balance. Gary Balance played in Bangladesh, didn't he?
Yeah.
You're telling me that Ian Bell wouldn't have done better?
Who's he coming in for?
Well, no, but I mean, now he's going to come in for Hamid or Jennings. I mean, it basically depends on how those two guys do, doesn't it?
Or if you don't want to... Because really, it's going to be hard to justify playing Butler in the first test against South Africa. I'd like Butler in the team, ideally, but he's got no form... And he's committing the IPL over playing red ball county cricket. So you're gonna really, it's a big leap of faith to pick Butler in that.
Yeah.
So
you could put Bell 5, Bairstow 7.
There's going to be a place.
Yeah, there could be. Yeah. So
interesting. We'll see how it starts on Friday.
Yeah, we'll see how things go. So there's 3 fixtures start on Friday, and we'll obviously keep an eye on the county championship throughout the season. But I think for this week, that's about it from all of us. So thanks everyone for listening. As I say, we'll keep our eyes on the IPL as well, week by week, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of discussions on Twitter @CricketPod. Get in touch with us there, and we look forward to hearing all your thoughts and covering the IPL as best we can. So, but for now, that's it from me. Thanks very much, everyone, and cheers to Manny.
Thank you, Joe.
Cheers, Cheese.
Cheers, guys.
And thanks, Ed.
Pleasure, thanks.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.